Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I am going to do my best to guide you as to how you can install PostgreSQL on a Mac. I haven't got a Mac to show you, but I will do my best to guide you as to how you can do this. The installation should be slightly different just because of the format. However, you'll be using the same graphical user tool that I used to show you the installation on a Windows-based computer. So we're going to start by going to the website. So the website is https://www.postgresql.org. So we're going to head over there to download the file. So this is the home page for the PostgreSQL. So if you click on this download tab here, you will have different options. So if you are on a Mac, you need to click on the Mac OS, click on that option. And then what you need to download the installer. You see this option here that says download the installer. This is what you need. So click on that and that will take you to the installer page. So where you've got select your version, you select the version of your Mac. For example, if the version of the PostgreSQL, so select the latest version, which is usually at the top. So select that one. And then for your operating system, click on the drop down arrow and select, there's only one option for Mac, just select Mac OS X. And then there's an option to download. So you can click on the download and that should download to your Mac folder or download that. I've just clicked on the download even though I'm not on a Mac, and this is the file. So it packages it as a DMG file, which is a disk image file. So to extract the installer, you basically simply have to mount the disk image and copy the installer to the desired location, or you can run it directly from the disk image. Please note that by default, Mac OS X ships with shared memory settings that might be too low for running the PostgreSQL. However, the installer will detect this and if possible reconfigure the shared memory and then may prompt you to reboot the system and rerun the installation. So if you get that happen, don't be surprised. So that's basically it. So just run this DMG file and just follow the screen instructions. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Any issues, please let me know. Bye for now. Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I will show you different ways to connect to a PostgreSQL database. You can connect using an interactive terminal program, which is also the shell, the SQL shell, or also known as PostgreSQL. Or you can use the graphical tool, which is known as pgadmin. So that is a graphical admin tool. So those are the two ways you can connect to a PostgreSQL database. So both the SQL shell, which houses the PostgreSQL, and the pgadmin GUI are installed when the Postgres database is installed. So let's go over to our program menu and explore both options of connecting to the database. To launch PostgreSQL, you click on the start menu, go to all programs, click on the PostgreSQL 9.6 folder, click to expand, and this is the SQL shell which houses the PostgreSQL. So click to launch, and when you open it, this is what you get. If you press enter, it will also add the database name. This shows you that the server is localhost, so it's a local installation. So press enter. It will give you the database. So it tells you the database name is Postgres. That's the default database that comes pre-installed when PostgreSQL is installed. If you press enter again, it will give you the port number, which is 5432. And if you press enter, it will give you the username that is used to connect to the database. So this is the username called Postgres. If you press enter, it will prompt you for a password. The password it's asking for is the password you would have set during the installation of the database. So just type that password in. So I'm just going to type mine and press enter. If it is right, it will connect to the database, and you get this warning here with some instructions here saying blah blah blah. But if you can see this flashing cursor, it means that you have successfully connected to the database, and this means the database is just waiting for some instructions. So as it is, you can execute a SQL query. Once you've got that flashing cursor there. So that's how you connect to the database using the SQL shell or the PSQL. So I'm just going to exit out of that. The second option is to use the pgadmin tool. This is also located in the same directory as the SQL shell. So click on Start or Programs, go to Postgres, click on that, and this is what we want, pgadmin 4. That's the current version. If you click on that, it will launch the pgadmin tool, and the latest version of that tool is version 4. Please be patient with this tool. It can sometimes take a while to open up. Once the tool opens up, we can connect to the database by expanding the servers here where it's got servers. Click on the plus sign to expand, and you've got the PostgreSQL 9.6. So click on that. It will give you an option to enter your password. So I'm just going to click expand that. There you go. So this should pop up. It says connect to server, and the username it's using to connect is Postgres. So you need to type in the password you set during the installation. So I'm just going to pop my password in there and click OK. And if everything checks out, you can see here it says server connected. Once you're connected, it tells you you are connected, and we can now access the database. So these are at the moment we've only got one database. That's why it's got one there, which is the default database installed with the PostgreSQL database, which is this one here. That's our default database. So basically those are the two main ways you can connect to a PostgreSQL database. Another way to actually interrogate or interact with the database is via the query. So if we click on the tools here and go to select the database first, make sure you got the database selected, and then click on tools and click on the query tool, and that should bring up the query editor. So just write a simple query that will interact with the database. So you just type in select followed by the version. You're looking for the version, and then parentheses and a semicolon, and then you click on this arrow there to execute the query, and it will show the result in the output here. So this is the output for the query. It tells you the version is PostgreSQL 9.6 and give you some information about the build and so on. So this tells you you can expand this. By the way, you can see I've just dragged it to expand it along to reveal more information. So it gives you the version and tells you it's compiled by Visual C++ and the rest of it. So that's one way of also interacting with the database. So thank you so much for watching. In this lecture, we've learned how to connect to PostgreSQL database server by using different methods. Thanks for watching and bye for now. Hello and welcome. In this lecture, I'll be showing you how to load a sample database into PostgreSQL. The sample database we are going to use is called a DVD rental database. This is a sample database taken from the Sakila sample database from the MySQL site. So this is the database I'm referring to. So basically I made some slight modifications to it to make things a lot easier for you. It's called a DVD rental. I've already extracted it here. So this is the extraction. This will be included in the resource page for this lecture. So you can just download it and follow along. This database should be more than enough for us to learn and practice using PostgreSQL. The database itself contains many objects. It has 15 tables, 1 trigger, 7 views, 8 functions, 1 domain. It also has 13 sequences. So once you've got the file downloaded, this file here, which is going to be available for you to download inside your resource page for this lecture. Once you've got that downloaded, what I need you to do is go to your local drive and say your local C drive if you're on the Windows, okay, and create a temp folder. So create a folder called temp, as I've done here, and add that file to it. So on your C drive, make sure you have a folder called temp and just add the DVD rental zipped or extracted file, the actual compressed file. Don't extract it, just make sure you add the compressed file into that temp directory. You can see 2 other files. These are not related to these lectures. These are other files that I can delete this actually because they're not related to this course. So you should only have this compressed file called DVD rental inside this temp directory, which is housed in the root of the C drive. Once you've got that done, launch the admin tool, which is I've already got it open here, which is the PG admin tool. You can launch that from the all programs, go to PostgreSQL and click on PG admin 4. So I've already got the tool selected. Make sure you've got the next thing we need to do, because we are going to load a database, we need to create a new database. So to do that, you right click on where it's got databases and go create database. So we are going to create a new database called DVD rental. So we need to give the database a name. I'm just going to call it DVD rental. I've got it all in lowercase, but it's up to you, it doesn't really matter. And the owner will be this user here called Postgres. And then in the comment, you can say whatever you want. I'll just say DVD rentals. Okay, and just click save. And by clicking save, that should install the database. So if I right click and refresh this now, this figure should change. You see it's already changed to 2, which means we have now successfully created a database called DVD rental. Now we can load the sample database. To do that, you just right click on where it says DVD rental, right click on that, and there's an option to restore. Click on restore. All right, you get this saying please configure the PostgreSQL binary path. All right, so what we need to do is configure the path for that. So click OK and click on your file option, go to preferences and look for path. This is what it's complaining about. Under path, click on binary path, and inside the binary path we need to go to where we installed the software. So we installed in program files, and there should be, click on Postgres and click inside that folder, click on the bin directory and click to get the path. So this is the path it's asking for. Copy that and paste it in there and say OK. If it's happy with that, there should be no complaint. So what you need to do now, we can go back and restore the database. So click on DVD rental, click on restore, and that error should no longer occur. Okay, format, select format is going to be custom or tar. Click on that. File name, we need to select where it is, the location. These 3 dots here enables you to browse the location of where the files are. Okay, alternatively, you can manually insert the location of the file. So we're just going to go to where we've got the file stored. It's in a temp folder, this temp folder here. Because sometimes it's slow. Now it's opened up. Sometimes that can be slow to open. So we click on that, the C drive, and it's inside the temp folder. It says it can't find any files. Okay, so I'm going to click cancel. Sometimes it can have problem locating the files. So I'm just going to go manually and get the location, which is in the temp folder, DVD rental, and then just cancel out of that. If you click, what you need to do is just do a slash and add DVD rental. That's it. And just get the path from there, copy and paste it in here. And that should be it. You can leave the other option blank. Role name, you don't really need that. Or you can just select Postgres, which is the user that has the privilege to install the software. So click on this restore button here, and if everything goes to plan, it tells you here restore job created, restoring backup on the server, gives you all kinds of information regarding the backup. It tells you successfully completed. So we have successfully restored the database. So we can quickly check the database. This is the database here. If you click on this schema to expand it, the tables will be located inside the schema, and the name of the schema is public. Click to expand that, and then we can see all the objects for the database. So these are the tables. These are the trigger sequences. Let's focus on the tables here. Let's expand that. We should see 15 tables. It tells you there 15 tables. So we've got all our tables loaded. So we are good to go for the rest of the course. We've got our lab sorted, and we can progress with the rest of the course. So if you've successfully loaded the database, well done. If you've got any issues, please do not hesitate to let me know. Many thanks, and bye for now. Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to create a new table. So let's open up our PostgreSQL. So that's my folder here, and click on pgadmin4. The pgadmin management tool does changes often. The version does get updated, so you may get a pop-up saying your version needs to be updated. So this is what I'm talking about. You can see here it says I'm currently running version 1.4 of the PG4 admin. However, the current version is 2.0. So feel free to upgrade yours if you want to. I'm going to do mine later. So I'm just going to click on the X to ignore it for now, but I can update it later. So I'm going to click on that. So next thing I want to do is click on the server here. Click on this plus, and that will expand the server. And if you click on that, it will expand the PostgreSQL, and it will prompt you for a password. If you don't want to get this prompt all the time, you could click on this save password button if you wish to. So I'm going to type my password in, and once you've logged in, you see the dashboard and other bits and pieces. So here on the databases, click on the plus to expand the databases. I have currently got 3 databases. So these, okay, so you need to expand the plus to expand the databases. So the database you want to create a table on, I want to create my table on this database called DVD rental. So I'm just going to right click on it, and there is an option to create database. If you want to create new database, you can. I've already got this database. I'm going to stick to that, and I am going to use the query tool. Okay, so I'll click on the query tool. That will give me the query editor. So I've added my query here to create a database. So you can create a new table by specifying the table name along with all the column names and their types. So that's what I've done here. So you use the keyword create table followed by the name of the table. I've called it weather, and these are the various columns I want for the table, and these are the data type. Varchar 80 basically specifies a data type that can store arbitrary character strings up to 80 characters in length. The int is the normal integer type. You've got a data type called int, which is an integer type, and you can use that for storing single precision floating point numbers. And then we have the date data type. Basically this is self-explanatory, so it will store date related data. So I'm just going to click on this button here to execute the query, or you can hit F5 if you want. Okay, so it's doing that, and it tells me here query return successful. So it has query return successful, so it has created the table. So now if I expand the schema under this database and go to public, and under the public schema there's tables here. Under the tables you should see the new table here called weather, which is this table here. So if I expand that, you would see the columns of the table. So you can see all the columns here. That's the columns of this table. I'm going to quickly create another table. So I'm creating another table here using create table. and I'm calling this table city. This table basically is going to store the cities and their associated geographical location. So again, that's the name, location, and you can see the data type. This here, this is expandable, so you can move this around just by putting your mouse here. If you want more space, you can move it down. So it is movable. All right. So now I'm just going to highlight this table so that it doesn't execute this query as well. So I'll click execute and it should go ahead. So it's created that table now. So if I go back to my list of table, I should now see a table called cities as well. So let me expand the tables again. If we go right down, so there you go. If you don't see your table show up, you can just right click on the table here and click on refresh, and that will repopulate it. So this is the table I've just created called cities, and you can see it only has 2 columns, which is the name and the location. Notice in the second table, the data type I used was point. Point basically is a PostgreSQL specific data type. And once you've created a table, you can also get rid of it. And the fastest way to do that is just right clicking on the table. So you right click and there's an option here to delete or drop the table, and that will get rid of the table for you. So that's it for this lecture. Thank you for watching, and bye for now. Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to be populating a table with rows. So in our previous lectures, we created a couple of tables. So this is a query I used to create the tables. So you can clear the query window by clicking on this icon here. It says clear query window, and that will clear. It tells you, are you sure you want to discard the current changes? Say yep, and that clears the query window. So here I've got a query here that I've added on to insert or populate the table. This table here I created called weather. So when you are populating a table, when you're inserting rows, this is how you specify it. You use the keyword insert into, and then followed by the name of the table you're doing the insert, and then the values. And then in parentheses, you specify the columns. So for example, the columns you are inserting the data into. For example, the first column, this San Francisco, will go into this column called city. And this number here goes into here. So they correspond, and then the date, this is the date value. So notice the format of the date as well. So the values have to be in the order of the columns. So we know that this, you notice that I put quotes around the text, because that's the only way the database can recognize that they are text. So you can see the San Francisco value goes in city and so on. And then the date goes in the date column. So notice that the value have been surrounded with single quotes. The date type is quite flexible in what it accepts, but you know, you can also enclose it in that. Notice I've also put single quotes around that value I'm giving to the date. So the format here, this represents the year, this represents the month, and this represents the day. So once I've done that, I can execute the query. I click execute. The execute button, this one that looks like a thunderbolt, click on that and that will execute. It tells you query return successful, insert 01. So it's inserted something in there. So to test that we definitely have something in the table, I'm just writing a simple select statement. Select star means select all the rows from all the columns from this table here called weather. So I'm just going to highlight that and click on this lightning bolt to execute. And we can see here we have some data. So yeah, so that's on that city we've got that in this the date as well. So we have successfully inserted and populated the table with a row. So I have added another query here on line 6 here to insert a row into the cities table. And when you are inserting values, the values has to be in the order the table was created. So you need to remember the order of the columns. So here I'm inserting into the table called cities, which is this table here, and these are the values. So if I expand that table, we can see the columns. It's got 2 columns here. So we've got the name, which is a text or a string. So we enclose that in quotes. And then we've got the location. Notice the data type is a point. So the point type requires a coordinate pair as input. That's why I've done this. See the coordinate in it. When you're using point, it requires a coordinate pair as an input. So now I can execute this query by clicking on this lightning bolt icon here, and that should insert. You can see here it's a query return successful, so it has inserted the row in the table. Again, if we want to confirm that data was inserted, we can just write a select statement. So I'm just going to copy that statement above and just change this to cities. And then highlight this and run the query. And we can see what it returns. There you go. So it has inserted values that we executed using this query here. I have added 2 extra queries just to explain something to you. I've added this here, this block, and also this block. The reason I've done that is just to explain something fairly quickly. So far, with these 2 queries that we use to insert the rows, it requires that you remember the order of the columns. An alternative syntax allows you to list the columns explicitly, which is what I've done here. All right, so I've actually listed them, right? Just to be certain that they are in the correct order. So this is another way to write the same query. Many developers consider explicitly listing the columns to be a better style than relying on the order implicitly. So I'm going to just execute this so that you can see that it works the same way, and click execute, and that will do the same job. And also you can also list the columns in a different order if you wish, or even omit some columns. For example, you can see here in this one here, I have left out this column here. I've left that out, and also change the order. Say for example you have no value for a certain column, it's okay to skip that, like I've done here. I've left this column out now. So this here, I should be able to execute this as normal by clicking on this icon here, and you can see it has executed the query. So these are just various ways you can write queries when you are populating a table. So you can either implicitly specify the column name or explicitly do that. So when you're doing it implicitly, you're relying on the order, but when you're doing it explicitly, you are actually specifying it in the query. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to be querying a table. So once you've got the pgadmin 4 tool opened, you need to basically right click on the database that contains the table you want to query. So in my case, it will be the DVD rental. So I just right click and click on this query tool. I've already clicked on it. That's why I've got the query tool opened here. So I've got a simple query here just to query this table. I briefly illustrated this in the previous lecture where I inserted a row. So this is just a basic simple select statement. Select is the keyword you use if you want to retrieve data from a table. If you're using the asterisk, that means you are retrieving data from all the columns of the table. So let me expand this database so we can take a look, and then go to the schema. Under the schema, we have the tables, and the table I'm currently querying is this table here, which is the weather table. So when you're querying a table, if you don't specify the columns, I'm using an asterisk, which means I'm querying all the columns of the table. So it will return all the rows, all the data from this table. If I wanted to be specific, I can just select the columns I want to create. But by using the asterisk, it means it's going to get data from all the columns. So let me execute that so you can see. Look at all the data from the table. So it's got 4 rows at the moment. Okay. Notice you've got this value here called null. Null basically is an unknown value. When something is not known, it's represented as a null value. Also notice we've got some duplicate data here. This is just illustrations. I've inserted same type of data twice, but we can also change that and edit that later. So these are easy to update. So I've got another query here on line 3 that I've added. Basically what I'm doing here, you can also write expressions, not just simple column references. So here you can see I'm selecting the city, and this is the city, and these are the columns. And here we're also using this value here. We're using anyway you see AS means it's an alias name. So we've got an alias name called temp_average, and then we've got a date from the weather. All right, so let me execute this so you see what it does. Execute this, and you can see I created a temporary column here using this AS alias. So the AS clause basically is used to relabel the output column. Okay. All right, I've added another query here, this block here, and I'm using the where clause. The where clause basically acts as a filter that specifies which rows are wanted. Okay, so basically I'm saying from this table called weather, which is this table here, I want you to return any rows, okay, where the name of the city is equal to San Francisco, and where this value is greater than 0.0. So let me execute this and it will return whatever it can find matching that. So you can see here is returned 2 records matching that. That's because these are duplicate records anyway. So I will fix that at some other time. This is not that urgent, but you can always, I can always update this so that the duplicate is removed. So I've added another query here, this block here. So basically I'm selecting distinct from the table called weather and I'm ordering it by the city. Distinct basically means it will remove any duplicates. Order means it will order it based on the city. So let me execute this query. I'm just going to highlight it. The reason I'm highlighting it because I don't want all the other scripts to be executed. I just want the highlighted one. Then I'll click on that and oh, I've got an error. Okay. The reason I've got an error here is because when I use the distinct, I didn't specify which column. So I need to specify the city. So I'm selecting distinct city from here. So by distinct, it will remove any duplicate. So let me run that again. And I should get a better output this time. You can see here is only returned one instance of San Francisco because I've used the word distinct, and it's also ordered it by city. Okay. And when you're ordering, you can specify either ascending or descending order. And okay, if you want to use, if you're not sure which way you want to order it, you can either do it ascending or descending. So anytime you want to remove duplicate rows, always use distinct in the query. So that's basically it for this lecture on querying a table. Thank you for watching and bye for now.